not participate. Jesus can take my sin and not participate. Well, no, I don't know. He does not suffer? Yeah. Yes. Well, any comments on that? He says Jesus did not. Okay. He says he did not obtain the diseases that he cured. Is that true? Now, of course, this mime is an allegory. It's it's metaphor, so it's not exact, right? But isn't it true that Jesus was omnipresent at one time, and now he is no longer omnipresent? He sacrificed a whole attribute of divinity to be our brother. Is that not doing this in an analogous way? Is that not taking on, sacrificing a whole part? It's not sinful to do that. It's not sinful to become omnipresent now on. But it is a sacrifice. It is a change. It is something that really, not to say that diminishes him, it doesn't diminish him, but in a sense, there is a change. For him to take our sacrifice was not just a theoretical sacrifice. It was a real sacrifice. It was real. Huge, huge. All the treasures of heaven were given in the gift of Jesus. And now he's, different. He's one with us. Oh, I don't know. That's just theological discussions. Okay, so any other questions on the salvation? God showing the love, okay? So how should we live? All right? 1 Peter 1:15. Let's do this. 1 Peter 1. So now we have this love of Jesus. Yes, be ye holy, okay? 1:15, let me see where we're at. But as he which is called you holy, you be holy in all manner of conversation, because it is written, be you holy, for I am holy. Okay, so that is our responsibility. What does that mean to you? Any comments? What does that mean? How should we live? Jesus, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. So you're drawn to Jesus, you love him, and so you respond in kind. I remember my first year in college, I had no morals. I was just a typical atheistic, and I don't know if you realize that in these colleges, these liberal arts colleges, they teach and promote socialism, communism. It is the standard teaching. And it's getting more and more widespread. More and more professors, and that's what I was taught. UCLA, a couple of my professors, Marxist communists. Virtually all of them were atheists. You couldn't find a Christian. There are some Christian professors in universities, just not very many of them. Virtually every science professor is going to be an atheist evolutionist. And so out of that comes socialism, Marxism, communism, some form of that. Yeah. Yeah. It's just accepted. Like if you have a science meeting, a big science convention, you'll have thousands of scientists all be atheists. If you have a Christian science meeting, you'll have a small little room, just a few scientists. So it's sort of a hard battle for a young mind to go into that milieu and not resist that kind of teaching. Because it's not even taught, it's just accepted. They don't teach you that. They just accept it. Did you know this already? You know that there is no God. You know that evolution is true. So let's go on to something else. So, okay, so yeah, in these schools, so you have this sort of mindset of our society is moving away from that. You know, I like to see the morals here, because we had a Christian, sort of country when we started. Very Christian-oriented. Virtually all the people came here to settle, Christians, Christians. And now this Christianity is going down and the atheism is going up. At what point do you get that tipping point where all of a sudden you lose the Christian influence in our country? Yeah. Oh, were you going to say? Okay. Yeah. Yes. So, what's going to happen? What you see is, I know it's like, yeah. Yeah. That, that's it. Yes, that's simple. Yeah, and yeah, Odessa. Yeah. Yeah, you can't even talk about it. I know I did that one time. I was witnessing to one of my patients in the hospital, right? The hospital, and there was a curtain drawn. Well, my patient, when I was talking to him, it wasn't like I was witnessing. I was just talking to him about the Lord. It was the patient wanted to talk about it. The patient in the other cubicle complained to the hospital. And I got called on the carpet. Don't be talking about your faith. I go, what? The person was, no, it wasn't you. It wasn't her that was complaining. It was the person in the bed next to them. And I didn't even know it was there, had no idea of what it is. So yes, you can't even talk about these things. So they've, taken a lot of prayer out of schools, and we still have some places that they do it anyway. At football games and stuff, they'll still have prayer in some of the places. And you see a lot of these games, certain number of the players will get together after the game and have a prayer. And I know in the high schools, they all do it. All the high schools around here, after a football game, they get together and have prayer in the middle of the field, both teams together. So there it is. It's, trying to keep on. Of course, we're in a Bible Belt here, so what do you expect? We have so many churches. I mean, look at all the churches. You see Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights, Sunday night, they're packed. They're packed. We have a religious community here, so in some ways it's not like it is in other places. Yeah, well, mhm. Yeah, you wonder how these things will work out. There's so many different scenarios you can imagine how that Sunday law could come about. Yeah. Well, I was too. That was 1969 when I was at UCLA, And the professor, they were saying, oh, you can believe what you want, but, he was putting down Christianity, And in my psychology class, in my sophomore year, 1970, my teacher said, it doesn't matter what you believe in this class. This was a world religion class. He goes, you can believe anything you want. You can even be an atheist if you want. I'm thinking, good, because I'm an atheist. So that was the mindset, is what the indoctrination was, and it's just only been worse. Yeah. Put what off? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think, it's prophesied also that we would be lukewarm. How do you get out of that lukewarmness? That's a dilemma right there in itself. I wish that you were hot or cold, that kind of thing. So, yes. Yeah, I think that's true. Yes, many of we mentioned this last week about many people have blinders on. God has blinders on people. He's always used, sort of that because it's not their time. And the same for us. We need to be preparing ourselves so that we can be teachers and mentors of people that do come in and say, hey, I want to learn this stuff. Tell me. I have no perspective on this at all. So we need to be there for them so that it is an opportunity. It's going to be great. It's going to, in that sense, yeah. Yeah, we have Baptists. Yeah. Yes, we have Pentecostals. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you know this church, Faith Promise Church. It's a big mega church in town. They have 5 services, about 2,000 people every service. 5 services Saturday night, then 4 services on Sunday, right? The pastor keeps the Sabbath. He's a Sabbath keeper. He didn't tell anybody. Only very few people know it. I was in one of their Bible study classes. One of the leaders told me that because I told them I was Seventh-day Adventist. They go, well, tell me about that because our pastor is the Sabbath keeper. They do want to know. Many of my patients were walking on a treadmill or doing exercise, and I tell them I'm an Adventist. They go, what is that? They want to know. They're curious. So there's opportunities abound if you're ready. If you're ready to be a voice there. Okay. Yeah, and back to whatever, a statement, something like, many of our greatest lights will go out. And have you seen any of your friends? I've seen some of my friends, great pastors that I thought were just amazing, most amazing people, leave the church. Yes, so many. I remember I was talking to Morris Venden and was telling him about how I came into the church because I was at Loma Linda. I was a non-Adventist, went to Loma Linda, became an Adventist while I was there. And I wanted to be a Christian. I was a Christian. I was a born-again Christian, and I wanted to study the church, so I got involved in this Bible study. And the leader of that Bible study, a college student, a medical student, Rick Wilkinson, And Morris Venden, I mentioned that name. Morris Venden said, hey, Rick Wilkinson, when he was at Loma Linda, he was the best Adventist I ever met in my whole life. Morris Venden said that about this guy, and he left the church. It's just, so anyway, the pastor there at the Campus Hill Church, the pastor, he gave me Bible studies. He left the church. He gave me Bible studies to get baptized. And I got baptized. He didn't baptize me. The head pastor baptized me, but so. And the whole, that was all during the Ford thing, the Ford and Brimsmead and the 1844 conference, so anyway. Okay, so how do we live? Now, the second coming. Peter makes lots of reference to the hope in the second coming. The inheritance incorruptible. 1 Peter 1:4. Let's right from the beginning. Let's go to there. To an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you. There is going to be a new heaven, a new earth. There is going to be the second coming. Jesus is coming. This might be a thing. This is another thing. We can teach these things to other people. Like a lot of people don't understand the second death. You know, these are things that we understand simply. These things all make sense. It all sort of fits. You can understand these things. The second coming, the resurrection, the millennium, second death, they all fit together. It's almost like one doctrine that just all, includes everything. Yeah, Christ is the chief cornerstone. The Father judges according to his work. The judgment to begin. Where does the judgment begin? 1 Peter 4:17. That's right. Okay, let's read that. 1 Peter 4:17. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? So doesn't that sort of want to wake you up, to these are, and I know I had this sort of epiphany last year. It seemed like our world went through all of these big catastrophes. There was the nuclear thing in Japan. There was earthquake in Thailand, the tsunami in Thailand. You had all these things happen. There was the earthquake in Haiti. Yeah, and I was saying, these are wake-up calls. This is God like releasing the angels, because I see those angels holding these earthquake faults together. And God says, hey, I need you over here. He goes, well, God, if I let go of this fault, there's going to be an earthquake. He goes, yeah, but no one up there is praying for me right now. Someone over here is praying, and we need you over here. Okay, and he lets it go because they don't care. So, what's that? No, this is just in my mind. That's my thing. It's just, yes, well, millions, whatever. I'm letting these things go. I mean, God can prevent these things, but he's not preventing them. So it was like a wake-up call. Wake-up call to, Thailand. Of course, there's so much evil in Thailand. Wake-up call to Haiti. Of course, there's going to be a wake-up call there. In Japan, of course, be a wake-up call. But then what happens? Nashville gets hit. New York City gets hit. New Orleans. I'll go, maybe the United States needs a wake-up call too. And then all of a sudden, hurricanes in Knoxville and whatever. Or maybe Knoxville needs a wake-up call too. God's trying to wake us up, strengthen the things that remain. Okay, wake up. Yeah. Yes, he that believe.
Leave. The others
Is that working?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Basically, by choosing not to believe, we condemn ourselves to the second death. By choosing to believe, we're given the option of eternal life.
Okay, switching gears here. Have you seen these things? You know what those are for? Yes. The kids with ADHD, whatever. You know, I just bought this yesterday because I was in the store and I was holding it, and you go like this, it has resistance to it, right? Yes, gyroscope. You know what it reminded me of? When we were kids and we had a little gyroscope. And you held it and you know. See, we had this too. And remember that little magnet thing that you rolled down and it came back up and it rolled around? See, all of those things stimulated your mind. They helped you understand the world. It's got force. It's got, you know, all these different forces. And we had, remember silly putty? You could squeeze it out, you could bounce it, and you could pick up the newspaper print. You could do all these weird things because of this ball of putty. It expanded your minds. These things, they're very clever because they work on your mind. They help you sort of understand life better, understand the world because of the interesting forces. You know, in physics, there's 3 laws of physics. Have you heard those laws? Gravity. That's what that is. Gravity, electromagnetism, and weak forces, strong forces. There's only 3 laws that govern the whole universe. I mean, there's only one law, the law of love, but it's broken down into 3 parts. And I think these things are analogous. That gravity, this is explained by gravity. This is centrifugal force. That's gravity. Electromagnetism, that's that, the magnet, the little thing that went down like this, magnets and light. And then the weak forces, that's the silly putty. The silly putty, it's chemicals. It's different chemicals that have different properties. The weak forces is electrons, and the strong forces is the neutrons and protons. Yeah, so those things are very helpful to understand the universe. So you start seeing the universe has some sense to it. It makes sense. All starting to fit together. So I came up with this analogy because I'm in medicine. There's like the 3 big diseases, right? First you got heart disease. Do you know what the main cause of heart disease is? What? Little. That's what Roseanne said on the Roseanne show. I would say heart disease, the main is a diet. Okay? Then you have, I would say, diabetes. I would say the main cause of that is what? I have to only give one thing, so I give that exercise. Because the kids are sitting around. They're not exercising not getting out. So they gain weight. Video games and, all these things, whatever. Cell phones, computers, video games, and then cancer. Okay, what's the main cause of cancer, would you say? Huh? Okay. We have to have something else. You have to... Yes, well, go with me here. I'm sort of trying to get to a point here. I'm going to call this stress. Okay, because I have to get 3 things in here. Yes, all of these things, exercise and diet and stress all lead to heart disease. Exercise, diet, they're all just like love, has all 3 parts. Everything has all 3 parts, so don't get me wrong. I understand there's all this stuff. But just to make this point, and we were sort of talking about this last time, with the cells, how the cells get big, these things, like for a cell here gets big like this, gets fat, full of fat, okay? Here's a couple of fat, now it has all this fats. So that's the diabetes. Because about 90% of diabetics are overweight. That's the main thing, okay? So this is the diabetes. Okay, now the arteries, your blood arteries for the heart disease, you have this artery like this. It's got this wall around it, muscular wall, and you get an injury to this thing. You get some kind of little injury that injures this, and so it starts building up with cholesterol, okay, like this. This artery can be clogged 80%, and you'll have a normal EKG, and you can run a marathon. That's how efficient our body is. And it doesn't take much to clog that up. I remember Jim Fix, great exercise guru, big marathon runner, boom, died of a heart attack while he was running because his arteries were like this. Yeah.
It should be noted that he said that when he dies, people say that exercise killed him, but he said he extended his life by at least 5 years by giving up smoking 3 times a day and running. But all this was sad and scientists and everybody all died of kidney.
But he says diet has nothing to do with heart disease. And he would eat pizza and all, crummy diet. He goes, that doesn't, you can run it off. No, you can't run it off. It has, so this is the heart disease. Okay, now I want to talk about the cancer, because we're getting to this one. Another theme of Peter's was the false teaching. Okay, so here is the cancer, okay? Cancer cells. What is the cause? Here's a cell. Cancer is this cell divides into 2 cells, and then that cell divides, So normally your cells are not supposed to divide. When a cell divides, it goes through several stages, and the last stage is rest. It goes into a rest phase. In the cancer cell, there is no rest phase. It just divides again and divides again. It doesn't have the rest phase here. So when it goes to the, G1, all these different things of mitosis, when it gets up here, it goes to rest. Okay? In cancer, there's no rest, so it just keeps dividing. Now, there's several causes of cancer. One is mutation. Cells in your body are just mutating all the time. We live in a world of sin, so these cells are they're just mutating and go big cancerous. But when they go cancerous, they leave little markers on the receptor here, and your immune system, your T cells, your cancer cells, recognize that is now off, and they kill it. Your own white blood cells kill these cancer cells. So you're not, as long as you're in good shape, you're not dying of cancer. Okay, another one is, and you can throw some of these out, another one is radiation. Okay, radiation. Where do you get radiation? TV, ground, microwaves, X-rays, gamma rays, sunlight, yes. What's that? Concrete blocks. Okay, radiation, see, when you have radiation, whatever kind of radiation it is, gamma rays, gets into this, you got your DNA inside here, and this DNA gets disrupted. The worst radiation, have a nuclear bomb drop on your city. You will have cancer. If it drops on your city, it's just a matter of time. You're going to get cancer because all that radiation disrupted the DNA in those cells, and a bunch of them are going to go cancerous. So stay away from nuclear bombs dropping on your city. It's very serious. Okay. And also, these other things, the number of X-rays. I know they've gotten to try and get the decrease on the amount of radiation from the X-rays, but if they've got a lead jacket to put on, you put it on. They say, you want this lead? Yes, I want that lead jacket. You're at the dentist or wherever. Stay away from this radiation as much as you can. Okay. Yes, because it'll kill cells, but they focus it. They try and focus it. Now they're getting better. They have the proton beams. Those are very precise. 2 or 3 proton beams, they can focus it and just kill small little tumors. When they do other radiations, they do big beams, and they kill a lot of the good cells too. You know, they're just trying to save your life. So I guess they figure, you know, yeah. Well, that's not cancer. We're just talking about cancer. Sickle cell anemia is a genetic thing that you have the little sickle cells, and the reason it survived was because the sickle cell was immune to malaria. So the people that had the sickle cell survived malaria, so it survived. But it's just a genetic, just because we live in sin, we get all these genetic problems, you know, Down syndrome and whatever. Okay, let's get more of these. I just want to make a sort of analogy here to this cancer thing here. What else causes cancer? Mold, okay? Aflatoxin, you know, the toxin in peanuts, when they have these big silos that get wet, they get toxic. That is one of the most toxic or cancer-producing chemicals there is. It causes primary liver cancer. Outside the United States, that used to be the #1 cancer. Why didn't we get aflatoxin in the United States? Anyone know? Well, yeah, we have real strict, you know, rules for the FDA on the aflatoxin in peanuts, but it's because we had refrigerators. Refrigeration decreased the development of mold. And you read in the Old Testament when it says they had leprosy on the walls. If you have leprosy on the walls of your house, you need to tear your house down, right? That was mold. That was mold. This mold is toxic. These mold things can cause cancer, okay? What else we got for cancer? Now, there is yes, okay, we'll call those chemicals. Yeah, when you smoke, those chemicals, those fats in the tobacco, the temperature heats those fats up and turns them into benzylpyrene, right? These very toxic substances. That benzylpyrene causes cancer. When they do research, they take that benzylpyrene, they paint it on the skins of rats because they know it'll give them cancer. And then they try and cure the rats. They give them vitamin A and vitamin C and do different things to try and cure them. Yes, all the kind of chemicals, gasoline, paints, whatever, a lot of these chemicals in the environment cause cancer. You've got to stay away from these chemicals. We don't even know what these chemicals do. We're not even going to find out for 20 years the effect of some of these cancers. Okay, another one here, virus. Yeah, it's part I know. I don't know. It's like I tell my patients, your back, you have a herniated disc. Don't sit down. How can you not sit down? I go, no, I know you have to sit down sometimes, but it's just as best you can, you know. As best you can. Okay, virus. You know, these little guys, these little virus guys, they float around. They attach to your cells here. They're like little space things, and they inject. Viruses cannot live on their own. Their DNA cannot divide unless it's part of some living cell. So it injects its DNA into here, right? So that virus now can divide. So it grows and it divides, and it makes the cell divide faster. So a lot of cancers are coming from virus. You know, the Hodgkin's lymphoma and some of these things. We know virus. There's probably a lot of cancers coming from virus that we don't even know about. Yeah, she said cancer. This is much more important than we think, you know, because there are all these other things we know about, but there's, you know, don't throw that one out. Okay, this is the analogy. Here's this virus. It injects its DNA into your DNA, and it corrupts the message. Now, if this is the center controller of the church, or the central controller of the cell, when it gets the virus DNA, it starts dividing fast, right? So if we could say this analogous to, this is a teaching, a doctrine. This doctrine gets into the doctrine and messes up the doctrine, so you have error coming in here. Now all of a sudden it's dividing fast, so you get a big megachurch because it's based on error. Because when you have error, it likes to divide. It can grow. I think that's one of the reasons why some churches grow fast is because they have a certain teaching that's not right. The people like it. You know, oh, I like that teaching. Yeah, I want to go there. But it's an error. And I think this cancer is analogous in the world, the physical world, as to what's happening in the spiritual world. We get error in the leadership of the church, error in the teaching of the church. We have to watch out for these false teachers. That's what Peter's talking about. False prophets, false teachers, false teaching. It might sound good. It might make the church grow. But if it's not truth, you don't want it. You want, question here. I don't know. I mean, a lot of them, Calvary Chapel continues to grow. It's all over the place. Greg Laurie, one of the main guys, he's huge now on the radio and everything. And I used to go to his church there. So I'm not saying necessarily. It's just a generality that sometimes that I was trying to make from the false teaching can maybe seem right, but it's not right. It just can't just go by the results necessarily, meaning it's, yeah. Yes, okay. So now what I wanted to say about this stress, I want to just see if I can do this in 1 minute here. These T cells, they are inhibited by cortisone. You know what cortisone is, right? So when you're under stress, your body secretes cortisone. You need a certain amount of cortisone because that gets your metabolism going, but you get too much cortisone, it inhibits your T cells, and you get cancer, okay? They put rats on these little turntables, and they'll spin them around, like real slow, 33, and their cortisone will go up, and their cancer will go up. They spin it faster, 45, cortisone will go up higher, cancers will go up higher. You spin it 78, they really stress these rats out. Their cortisone, but they've shown that direct relationship between the amount of cortisone that you're secreting and your inability to fight cancer. Because you have a good set of T cells, you're not going to get cancer. They're going to detect it. They put a male rat in with a female rat, put them in the same cage. The male rat cortisone went down, the female cortisone went up. See, yes, it's stressed her out, being chased around all day by this crazy rat. Life is stressful. You got to figure out how to keep your stress. Yeah, you can't get, especially if you're involved in ministry, you're going to have stress. If you're involved in life, there's going to be stress. But to learn, and I think that this gospel that we have, and Peter is one of this great book to read, is so comforting, so much to it in that thing, lowers your stress. I think the gospel is the best stress reducer because it includes everything. It includes the love, the psychology, it includes your lifestyle, it includes, not thinking about yourself, thinking about others, and having this hope in eternity, this hope in Jesus. You have so many things that are stress reducers. If you're feeling stressed out, go to the Bible and till you're unstressed. It should unstress you. It should put you in the best framework for life. This life is not the big deal. It's the next life. If we die, yes, we're going to die. So don't worry about it. And I like that analogy to sleep. Sleep, you go to sleep every night. That's exactly what death is like. Nothing to be afraid of. Because you're just going to wake up, basically, on your way to heaven. The arms of Jesus, just wake up. And I think that's why God gave us sleep every night, so he would know what death was like. We don't have to fear it. And hopefully some of us are alive when Jesus comes, too. Yeah, that'd be fun, too. So we don't know when that time is. Anyway, thank you. Let's have a prayer. Father in heaven, thank you for so many illustrations that we can have of your love, and that you are there for us, and you have a truth, and help us to love the truth and know the truth and live the truth. So I just pray for each one that will have that thirst for the truth, to know you better, to know how to live, to know how we can share with others around us. So I pray for each one with all of our needs and concerns that we're faced with each day. Thank you for this Sabbath. Ask for your blessing. Continue in this church service. In Jesus' name, amen. And I have quarterlies